So it's not every day you see a Suzuki Samurai pulling a boiler around. And it's also not every day that you get to use said boiler to blow a whistle for your employer. I work for a railroad that happens to be turning 125 years old this year, 2024. So in 1899, my employer went into business, and this whistle was on one of the original locomotives. That is not my whistle. That is a friend of mine and also my boss. That is his. But that whistle is going to get blown for a special presentation, you could call it, being put on by our company. And I was asked to take said boiler up to New York to blow it. So this is our little lookout boiler that was made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, way back in 1954. Yeah, fairly new for a boiler, but does the same thing. It's a big giant tea kettle, and I'm going to give you a 1,000-foot air view of kind of how a boiler works and what the bits and pieces are on this. And then they got another bigger one here in the background. I'll kind of show you that we've got that maybe later down the road be able to get it running and on the channel and play with it. But for now, I got a special event to do with this thing to blow a whistle of all things, and gotta get it ready. There's some things that need changes, valves, things updated on this, but for the time being, I'll give you an overview of kind of what it is. And by no means am I an expert with steam, because gas engines are kind of my forte. Steam's not, but I guess I know enough to be dangerous, so I'll tell you what I know, and then you can tell me in the comments how stupid I am. But yeah, here we go. So this is a small fire tube boiler, and that means that the heat comes up through the tubes. So there's fire tube boilers and there's water tube boilers. This is a fire tube. The heat comes up through the tubes. Water tube boilers, the tubes are full of water and the heat's around the tubes. This is the older way of doing it. Fire tubes, I think, your modern boilers, kind of like this one up here. That's a big giant boiler. That was a water tube boiler. You can see right there how big that thing is. That's a person. That's a boiler. Yeah. Anyway, fire tube boiler. I don't know how many horsepower this boiler is. It's not very much. 6 horsepower maybe. I don't know. Like I said, it was made in Tennessee by the Lookout Boiler Manufacturing Company. It's got it right there on the door. Don't really know much about them, but it is a certified boiler. National board right there, national board stamp. And then we actually had the state of Ohio come in and certify this thing too. So it's kosher in that way. So I guess we'll talk about all the things that are hanging off of this first. This here is where the sight glass goes. The glass isn't in it. I think it's over here. Right here. Just a regular clear glass that you can see the water level in it. If that thing was to break or fail, you can valve it out by turning these valves so it wouldn't shoot steam out. Then you can check your water level with these two petcocks. You crack them open. If steam comes out of there, then you know that the steam that the water level is below this one. You bring her down to here. You can crack it open. If steam comes out of there, then you probably ought to be shutting the boiler down because your water level is too low, and could be dangerous. So 2 ways to check your water level: right here and right here. Just like I said, by cracking these open, see what comes out of them. These are handhold inspection covers, so you can get inside the boiler and check your tubes and you know, clean out mud and whatnot if you had a bad water source. The firebox is down here. This thing was originally coal-fired. Dad converted it over to propane. There's the bottom side of the tube sheet on the bottom, kind of dark, but you can see it there. And also your little door. It's got a little window. You can see your flames in there. Again, like I said, this was coal-fired, so that was important to see what your if he's getting enough oxygen and whatnot to your coal. Not so much important now with having propane in there. This here is where the safety goes. We'll pull it out, put the safety on it. The boiler itself is a 100 psi boiler. The safety actually pops at like 80 psi. If you want to maintain a pressure on this and you're not running anything, where the safety is, it has a couple valves here that just goes down into the atmosphere. You can crack these valves open and keep the boiler at a steady pressure and not having the safety lift. I got the pressure gauge here. This has been calibrated, so that's all good to go. Calibrated this year. State of Ohio, that we're in, requires a couple water sources. In case one fails, you have another one to put water in the boiler, again for safety. Here's one of them. This is the injector, and what an injector does is it uses the steam pressure from the boiler to draw in water to fill the boiler back up. And it's got some, I'll explain this the best I can, but inside of here there's some cones that take the steam pressure and speed it up to like supersonic, something along them lines, and kind of, I don't know if it's a Venturi effect is the right way to put it, but long story short, this will use the steam pressure of the boiler to draw water from a water source and force it into the boiler under pressure. And there's some better videos on YouTube that explain this better than I can. Like I said, steam's not my forte, but that's how this works. It uses the steam pressure of the boiler to draw water in to the boiler to raise your water level back up. The other way is over here, just by this is a check valve. This is where the hose goes in, and there's a little hand pump over here. Then you just use this hand pump to pump water into the boiler when it's under pressure. This is where we're going to mount the whistle. If you notice, everything's got a valve on it. You valve everything out on a boiler. In case something fails, then you can valve it out. I mean, literally everything on this that has a port has a valve. So if something fails, you can close it off and keep operating the boiler safely. Here on the back's the drain. You can drain the boiler out and get the water out of it. Here's the inspection covers. Got two of them off. We'll have to put them in before we put water in this. And get a little peek inside of here. Get my light turned on. But yeah, a little bit of scale in there. But those are the tubes. When this is closed off, this will be all filled with water. Same here. So you can tell, definitely some scale in there. Needs cleaned out. But yeah, these are the handhold covers right here that go back there. So there's a gasket that goes on them, right there, just a rubber gasket. And then these clamps here pull that thing tight and makes this watertight, hopefully. This thing hasn't been fired in a few years, so that's why we're getting her out and getting her ready. But yeah, that's a quick overview. So need to get those in it, get water in it, and then we can put some heat to it and start bringing it up to temperature. And then we'll talk about that big project back there. It's another larger boiler that's self-propelled. Like I mentioned, this is the water sight glass. Get it put in here, and then we'll get the handhold covers on it and be able to fire this thing up. And yes, I'm using a crescent wrench or a spanner. Get over it. Can't tell you how many comments on one of my last videos that talking about using a crescent wrench. Wah. Anyway, these are gasketed right there. Right there, it's like packing. It goes down on these surfaces. You use these to swell it up against the glass, and it makes it watertight. You do have to be careful putting this thing on, because if you tighten it too much, it will break the glass, which luckily we have a bunch of extra, but let's not try to do that. These rods are just there to protect this in case it were to get bumped. Put these back in, and then we'll move to the handhold covers. Nothing real special about throwing these things in, other than you just don't want to drop them in there. I'm going to change this gasket. This one's got a tear in it. If you can see, right there, she got a tear. So we got some new gaskets here thrown in there, like so. You throw her in like that, and then you spin it. Try to line it up best you can. Put your clamp on. Throw your washer on, throw your nut on. Check your gap all the way around, that way you don't have the clamp hitting the shell of the boiler and it not pulling tight. I think we look all right. Yep, looks pretty good. I don't like it. There, that's better. Clamp her down. And we'll move on to the next one. So before we actually go and fire this, I'm going to fill it up with water, completely up with water to the very top, so there's no air in there. And then we'll hydro it using this hand pump. Now what hydroing will do and will tell us is if we have any leaks anywhere coming out before we put steam in this, we'll know if this is a sound solid boiler or not. And that way we don't have to fix the leaks with it being hot or under pressure or anything like that. We can just drain the pressure off, fix the leaks, and then hydro again until we're good and solid. And then we can put a flame to it, let it heat up slowly, and then blow our whistle. Just giving her a real quick once over. Make sure everything's on it that needs to be on it to do a hydro. That's why we don't have the safety in just yet, because the safety would pop if we were putting this thing under a hydro. Because we go, I think, 25% more than what the boiler is rated for. So this is rated for 100 psi, so we'll go 100 and a quarter, make sure everything's good. And then again, like I said, this thing, we only operate this at 80 psi. That's just because of what the safety pops off at. Nothing wrong with the boiler, just doesn't need the safety popping off. So we just run her at 80 until we can get the safety recalibrated to 100. So we'll shut the drain, and then we'll turn the water on and see if we got any leaks anywhere. Water pressure here is 50 psi apparently, coming from the well. Crack that open, and you can hear the water pouring in. So now we just got to keep an eye. Those are the two that I put in. If they leak, that'll be the first thing to leak. Getting water in the sight glass. So we got from there to fill up, and then we'll hydro it using the hand pump. And then we'll drain this back down after we hydro it and make sure we don't have any leaks. And then we can put a fire to it and start building steam. We'll know it's full when water starts, focus, when water starts coming out of here. Should be any second now. There we go. Go through and close everything. Alright, the well pump was making 50 psi, so I'm going to crack the valve open over here and we should see that gauge climb. So at 60 psi, we look all right. Oh, we got a leak right there. Just need to tighten that down. Showing 90, 100, 110, 120. Sight glass is leaking. Sight glass is leaking at 120. So I need to tighten that up and kind of watch it fall. So we'll tighten that up and then we'll put pressure back on it. Alright, round two. Right there is 130. That's not leaking. So we'll valve this out so this boiler stays under pressure. He's keeping pressure on it. Alright, it's valved out. So now we gotta go searching for leaks if we got any. I'll let you know if I find any. Well, we got a little weeper right there I'm gonna have to tighten up on this valve. Get it to stop leaking. Did about a 3/4 of a turn on that valve, got it tightened up. Doesn't appear to be leaking now. She dropped down about 10 psi on that little bit of a drip there. But she's still under pressure and she's above operating, especially above operating where we operate at by about 40 psi. So we'll go through and look at everything that can leak. That's cleaned up now. We look good there. The tubes themselves look good. These are the two covers that we put in. They seem to be holding. The drain's holding. That seems all right. Get my light here. Check it underneath. We look dry. So I think we're good there. So I'm going to put the chimney and the exhaust stack on it. That's laying over there. And we'll light a fire in this thing. So she hydrated out good, so I'm going to bring the water level down to where it needs to be when we go to fire it. And I'll get the chimney put on, and then we can put propane to it, light it up, and then bring it up to temperature real slow. I'll just do this here until the water level's down to where I want it. I'm watching the water level in the sight glass. Once it gets down to a mark that I feel comfortable with, I'll close that and call it good. She's about here right now. I'll bring her down to about here. Right there's where we're at. I want to be here. There we go. So there's where I'm going to start firing this thing at. I'll draw with a permanent marker on this glass, show you that water. That was on the inside. Show you the water level, because when this thing gets heat in it and everything starts to swell up, this water will actually rise about an inch. And then once it starts making steam, it'll stay there. And then we can blow the whistle. You want to leave on this thing, I know, leave the water level kind of low, because the whistle we put on this thing is fairly large. I don't think it's down here. And it will, the steam rushing out will actually pull the boiler water out with it, and it'll start sucking water out of the boiler. So we run this kind of low. When this swells, we might drain a little bit off of it, just like I did when I drained it down, just to get a larger steam chamber here to prevent water getting sucked out with the steam that's rushing out. Exhaust is on, it's hydroed. Oh, I got to put the safety on. Need to pull this off and throw this on there. That is the safety. There's a spring inside there. It's set to a certain PSI that'll lift a valve and let the pressure blow off of this boiler. And that goes right there. So we need to get that thrown in there. All right, safety's on it now. It doesn't leak. It has an exhaust. Just missing fire. So I think that's the next step. So the time is about 3:35 right now. We'll fire this thing real slow. The water's cold. The boiler itself is cold. We'll bring it up slow so everything can expand. And then once it gets some heat in it, we got a little thermometer, magnetic thermometer on it here. Once it gets heat in it, then we can crank the flame up a little bit to it. But I just want everything to expand real slow and check for leaks as we're going. So about an hour from now, should be pretty close to being able to have steam coming out of this opening right here where the whistle's going to go. I got this valve open. We'll see steam start coming out of there, and when we do, I'll shut the boiler in so it can build up pressure, and I'll throw the whistle on. And yeah, in the meantime, we'll go talk about that thing. So since we're waiting, we're going to talk about the big steam tractor here. This is an Altman-Taylor traction engine made by Altman-Taylor Company in Mansfield, Ohio. We bought this thing, I don't know, like 4 years ago, and just got really gung-ho into working on it. Got some new patch panels put in. This material was thin, and got a new firebox made for it. The old one's out here. You can see how rough it is. Yeah, she was pretty ugly. Had a lot of heat warpage on the top. If you you can kind of see right there where that's got hot and sagged, and it's just unsafe. Had a big patch in the bottom. This was thin, so I had a new one made by the Jonas Stutzman company. Nice new, a little bit thicker material, so that there will all be good. This has all been patched. Stutzman did that, so the end of this outer shell's good. We did the patchwork here. And anyway, this thing's kind of unique, as most of your traction engines are gear driven with a drive gear and a big bowl gear here on the side. I wish I had the axles here with me to explain this a little bit better. But this one's actually shaft drive. It's got a big sunflower gear that goes right here, and then your crankshaft from your engine runs here, and a bevel gear comes down and transmits the energy from the engine through a shaft and another big giant gear that's on the axles. There's the sunflower gear that transmits the power from up there, from the crankshaft down through the shaft into the the rear axle. This thing's pretty well disassembled and all over the garage. And there's the rear bolsters. They go right here. And then the rear axle goes across here. And then your rear wheels are right there. Like I said, a lot of work's been done to this thing, but life kind of happened. And I decided that I was going to be a YouTube star. And things kind of slowed down on this. Need to get back on it. But a lot of work's been accomplished. But it's the same principle as that, except for this one here just moves itself, where that's just stationary. But yeah, right there's a cylinder. It's been bored and sleeved. It's got a new sleeve in it. This is the piston for it. Right there. It's got a new piston rod. Need to get this here off. As you can see, that's all broke. I'm going to have a new one of these cast. That's the actual crank that goes to the engine itself. There's the connecting rod. Some more parts for it there. That's the water tank. Remember how I said that these things have to have a source of water? Well, this is the source of water that this thing would pull from when it was operating to refill the boiler when the steam was let off through the steam engine and whatever. Drop the water level. That was spare water. That's a water pump right there. A piston powered water pump that goes on the engine that would help force water into this, and it would also have an injector on it on the other side here. It would come off somewhere up in here. There'd be an injector to force water in. This thing's fairly old, fairly uncommon. It was built in 1893. To my knowledge, which is limited, there's like 6 of these in total. There's a 20 horse, which is the largest that they made. There's 2 16s. This is a 16 horse, and there's another one out west. I think out west. And then there's a couple 12s and an 8 that still exist. I think it's a 12 that's up at the Henry Ford Museum. And then there's one of these up at Cedar Point Amusement Park up in Sandusky, Ohio, that they just have sitting on display. But my father was a steam guy all his life. He ran a powerhouse for a paper company. So he's always wanted one of these. But I found this, and I know he wouldn't buy it, so I went halvesies on him, and we've been working on this together. But it's been probably every bit of a year that we've really done anything to it. There's the front tube sheet. We cut that out. This thing here goes up in here. Right there, and then there would be tubes like the other boiler, how it's got the fire tubes that run vertical, and the tubes in this one run horizontal. And this is a fire tube boiler as well. So things I think we're going to do, we're going to replace this barrel wrap, since there's a lot of pitting in it. This has been replaced at one time, like from here to here, and they kind of did a crappy job at it. So I think we're going to replace the barrel wrap on this, and that's kind of why we stopped on it, because it might be a little bit more of an undertaking what we want to do. So I'm trying to source some buddies to get that handled. But like I said, new firebox, new this, new that. We'll put new shafts on everything, pour new Babbitt bearings for it. So it'll be mostly a new tractor when we're done. I got a buddy that does 3D printing. Like this is the ash door down here. It's broke. So I'll probably have him draw up in CAD a new ash door to put it on there, just to make things look good. I do have a video from a couple years ago on this channel when we brought this thing out of the mountains in West Virginia, so I'll link that up in the corner and you can go take a look at it. It's just a short little video, one of my first ones I did before I actually had a decent amount of subscribers. So yeah, hopefully one day this thing will be done. I'll be out putting around in the backyard with it. But until then, we'll work with this one. Wanted to show you there, I got my line marked where the water level is. Again, this thing will rise, this thing will swell, the water will, up to probably about 1 inch. So it'll raise that up quite a bit. As this thing's firing, I have this open so this thing can just slowly heat up and any pressure it is built comes out. Well, she's been about an hour. See what the water level's up to. She's raised about 1/2 inch. The steam chest here, right there, is up to a little over 150 degrees Frankenstein. It got the fire. I cranked it up just a little bit. Put a little more heat in it since this thing's warm now. But coming along nicely. Still no steam yet. Well, you can see the water bouncing. That means that everything inside's boiling. And also, she's making steam. So that's a good indicator that she's steaming up. So I'm going to shut this thing in. And this thing will start building pressure. Because right now, we're at 0. So that's shut. Should start seeing the gauge come up. I'm going to go find a whistle to put on this. But now that this thing's shut in, this made me think of something that I wanted to talk about. All these pipe fittings on here are Schedule 80. That's Schedule 80. Anything on here is Schedule 80, and these are valves made for steam. The reason Schedule 80 is important and why I want to talk about it is because it's a lot thicker wall pipe fitting. Schedule 40 black iron pipe is what you see in your house. It's like residential plumbing pipe. You want Schedule 80 on steam. Just, I mean, literally for a substantially thicker wall. I gotta go get the whistle for this thing. It's back here, or one of them's back here, I think, or maybe both of them. But this is a Schedule 40 pipe fitting, and you can kind of tell that it's just thin wall. It's hard to see. Get out here in the light. This is just a regular Schedule 40 pipe fitting. Thin wall. And a Schedule 80 is substantially thicker. I know there's one here. Yeah, right here. See how much thicker that is compared to this thing? So, Schedule 80 is what's on that, in case anybody's questioning it. And right here's some whistles. Ta-da. I think I'm going to throw that one on there, because I haven't heard this one blow. This is a brand new whistle. A friend of ours, he's passed away now, but J.D. Miller had these made. And, yeah, we'll throw that on, and she should be building some pressure here momentarily. So, get this thing and be blowing a whistle here. Well, it's starting to build pressure. We're a little above 5 pounds, somewhere in there. And something else I was going to talk about is this little curlicue thing here. This is called a siphon. What that there is there for is you put water in here and it keeps a water level about like so. And that's to protect your gauge from getting steam up into it. So when this thing gets pressure in there, it forces the water up into the gauge and you don't have scorching hot steam getting in there and screwing stuff up inside your nice fancy expensive gauge. So these are called a siphon, water siphon, and that's really all it's there for, is just to have a little bit of a water level in it to protect your equipment. Got the whistle on. She's heating up. It's going to have some blow by until this thing all swells up and everything fits nice and tight. But yeah, a little bit of pressure, we should get a little bit of a toot. Probably get some condensation blowing out of there too. So, yeah, getting closer. Well, we're up to 60 pounds now, and it has grown a little over 1 inch on the water. So I'm going to drain some off, get a little bit bigger steam chamber, like I said. Like I said, I'll just use that drain down there to drain it off, and that'll actually help with probably building a little bit of steam quicker too. So, get that done and blow a whistle. That's hot, and it leaks. This'll work. There, back down to where we started at. Up to about 65. Looks like the whistle's got a little bit of a leak, but ain't gonna hurt anything. Well, we're up to 75 psi, so I'm gonna hit this thing before that safety pops off at 80. It's aiming up towards the roof there, and you can see it already kind of seeping by. So instead of letting that thing blow up, there's a bird's nest up there in that light. Instead of scorching them birds, I'm just going to blow the whistle and be done with it. So yeah, the moment we've been waiting for. It only took 3 hours. That dropped her down about 5 psi. So literally 3 hours later, we get steam to blow the whistle for about 2 minutes. I killed the fire on her because this was just a trial run to make sure everything was good. This thing hadn't been fired up in a few years, so I want to make sure all the handholds and stuff like that were good. We'll go through and replace all the gaskets on the ones that weren't out. But yeah, she did what she was supposed to, so happy with that. This thing will take a while to get cooled down, but she'll hold pressure for a little while, and once it's cool, get it pushed back in the garage, and we can get it ready to take up to Rochester, where we're going to do the whistle blow for the railroad. That is not the whistle that we will be blowing. We actually have one that came off of one of the original G&W locomotives that was on the railroad back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So that'll be kind of neat to blow, but yeah. Stick around, because I know you probably just heard the whistle blow and you're probably going to end the video and go on to something else, but there's more to come. There's a whole event that this is part of, so stick around and check that out. You get to hear another different whistle blow. Well, we made it to our destination finally. A little ADD moment here. Big old snowblower with a jet engine. That's pretty cool. But ain't what we're here for. We're here to take this thing, blow a whistle. Let me tell you, getting this thing here, oh, that was the easy part. Getting here and getting water in it and not leaking, that's a different story. So we had it laying down on that and thought that'd be fine, which it was. The problem was the laying down process. We bumped one of these handhold inspection covers, and well, she leaked like a garden hose out of the bottom one. So we took the top one up there, moved it down there, and then we moved that back, and well, it was a fun time, to say the least. Ended up having to bend the steel out, because what ended up happening was where these ears sit, it flattened this out and it didn't allow that to seal up the way it should have. So we get that one fixed, got water up to this one, and then we had the same problem. So some bending and some grinding later, the boiler doesn't leak no more. So we've got that thing. We've already fired it up once this morning. I think all the pressure's bled off of it, but she's still got heat in her, and we're taking a little break right now. Going to light a fire in here in a second, and then we're going to dedicate some new locomotives, and maybe check out this depot too while we're here. I don't know, but yeah. Next time we see this thing, it should have the whistle on it and be ready to fire. Everybody's starting to show up, so we're going to light the boiler and get the show on the road. Start building some pressure. There we go. Step on that thing. We're running the water low in the sight glass so we can have more of a steam chamber to blow this large whistle. The outlet on this is only 1 inch, and we're going into 1.25 inches on the whistle itself. So the more volume we have for steam, the better, or the longer, I should say better, the longer of a blow we can have. So it's a reason for running the low water level. Well, we got her up to 20 pounds. It's noon right now. We're going to blow it at 12:45, 12:55, somewhere in there. The whistle's actually on display all the way over there in that tent and that sea of people. So when everybody gets set down, I'm going to walk over there and grab it, bring it back, get it set up onto the boiler, and then I got my little radio on me, get the code word, and give her a blow so everybody can start boarding the old train. I don't really know much about the depot other than I was told it was built by B&O, and the Rochester and Southern Railroad ended up buying it and still operates out of it to this day. Genesee, Wyoming is the parent company, and that is who is turning 125 years old. But I believe this is part of the original G&W line. So kind of cool to be here. Well, we're up to 60 pounds now, so I just got the call over the radio. I can go get the whistle, so I'm gonna run over there and steal that thing, get her put up, and get a whistle blow out of this. Sure. Well, she's on there. We're ready to go. Up to about 80. Anything I'm waiting for is a voice to come across the radio so I can pull the lever and make her go toot. Well, I'll call that a success. Time to break her down. Already kind of started, but I think it ended up good. Well, we made it back to high, safe and sound. Everything's unloaded. I'm here in the shop, surrounded all by all my projects and future projects and stuff I don't need. And yeah, as you can tell, there's no lack of things for me here to work on. So if you like this type of stuff and these type of videos, don't worry, there's more. And speaking of that, now that the boiler is operational, I have an idea. I bought a small Coke bottle steam engine that's got local history from where I'm from here in Ohio. And I want to take that boiler and that Coke bottle steam engine, which it's over there, I'll show you here in a second, and put it back together, run the steam engine, run the boiler, and then I'm looking for a stone grist mill, like a Meadows stone grist mill. And I want to put it on a skid and have the steam engine power the grist mill and, you know, make flour and whatnot. That's a whole nother story as to why I want to do that. There is local history as the reason I picked that kind of combination. But yeah, so if you like this type of stuff and you haven't subscribed yet, click the button. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. And I have plenty of projects to work on. If there's something in here you see that you'd like me to work on or talk about, let me know, put it in comments. And I'll shut up now. But before I do shut up, I want to say thank you for watching these videos and subscribing, because I am almost to 20,000 subscribers, and that's something I never thought I'd really actually see. I was happy when I was at like 5,000, so we're way beyond that. So we're at 20 now, so I guess the next goal is 100,000, so hit the subscribe button, please. And yeah, steam engine time. So like I was saying, I got a steam engine that's local to the area. And of course I have it tucked away. Climb over crap here to go get to it. Oh, anyway. Hey, there she is. Kind of hard to see. But that puppy there is kind of locally known. An old timer had built a tractor using a boiler similar to what ours is, and this steam engine. Put it on like a John Deere chassis, and then took it to the local county fairs and showed it and ground corn with a stone burr mill or stone grist mill. So I want to take that engine, and I'm not going to make a tractor, but I do want to get it back in operation and do the same thing as that guy did, because he built that in the 60s and now it's 2024 and it's still around. So I'm going to try to live on his legacy there. I also bought this one from the same guy I got that one from, but I think that'll be a neat little video. I've got pictures of the guy that built the tractor when he was building the tractor, and then after he built it, and some pictures of him at the fair. So down the road, maybe this year, maybe next, that's going to be a project that I'm going to tackle. Maybe this winter, I don't know. But there's plenty of stuff in here to work on. It's just getting my ADD under control enough to set on a topic and stick with it. So thank you for watching. Please check back. This will be in here sometime. And as always, go out and get your hands dirty.